Yeah, good movie. Good movie to you. Is that how we usually start?
Yes.
That's it.
We just kind of spiral into it. It's fine.
Behold cinema. Yeah, we're already spiraling.
Be not afraid.
Greg's breaking the mic stand for no reason.
Correct. That's why we can't have nice things.
Jeez. Well, all right, people. Let's do this one more time from the beginning. As you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast. It'll either be a direct reference to the movie that we're talking about today, which is unusual for us, or something along the lines of well related to the movies. This is a podcast where my friends and I fill in our movie blind spots. Every week we'll pick a movie that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have by now. This week, that movie, continuing animation month, it is Into the Spider-Verse. Or it's Spider-Man, semicolon, Into the Spider-Verse. No, colon, not semicolon.
Monster, the Spider-Man story.
Monster Dahmer, the Spider-Man, Into the Dahmerverse.
Oh, I don't like that one.
No, not a Dahmerverse, please. Nobody needs that.
The real DCEU.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Canceled.
on the rails, only on topic today. Your guests today, left to right across your podcast now. We got Ray.
Hey.
Greg.
Hey.
Will.
Hello.
Robbie, it says here.
Yo. I know I don't come on the podcast that much, so it's hard to remember my name.
Yeah, he's never here. We got Scott's Tats writing again. Also, Greg and Ray are here. They're here.
They are sharing a mic, so I guess we can't just call them Gray.
Yeah, it's true. Good, and they're on a gray couch. That's the
most gray you can be.
lot of gray furniture, huh?
Greg is wearing gray.
Yes.
Okay. That's I mean, it's a
No
visual medium.
comment.
It's a visual medium. Everyone's going to enjoy this conversation. Oh God, wow, this is going to be terrible. It's too bad. Anytime we're talking about like a really good movie that everyone likes, I feel like it's intimidating to actually get into. So before we do that, have you guys watched anything good or fun lately? It's no longer, horror movie times, but if you've seen anything spooky, you know how this works.
We haven't been on in a little while, so we've actually seen a bunch of horror movies because, yeah. So we saw Barbarian.
I think
we
you were
saw
on 3 episodes ago.
Malignant, and well, that's like 3 weeks,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we saw Barbarian and Malignant. I have a feeling we saw something else, but I can't think of what it would have been.
Yeah, it's tough because just we record in advance. I watched a bunch of horror movies since the last horror episode we recorded.
But both those movies were really good. And I was pumped because I think on the last episode I complained that there's like not a lot of original movies. They're all like sequels or based off of other movies. And those 2 movies were very original. Regardless of what anyone thinks of them, they're not going to argue that they aren't unique movies. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm stoked that you guys watched those. Those are really fun movies. You guys watch any movies?
I haven't really watched a whole lot. I watched some spooky movies for the season.
Nice.
Hubie Halloween's always really funny.
There it is. I actually have not seen Hubie Halloween.
Oh, would recommend. It's hilarious.
Yeah, we already did one movie set in Salem, so we couldn't do,
That's fair.
Oh, Unsolved Mysteries came out with a new season.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So we've been watching that.
Oh, I gotta watch that still.
Yeah, I solved like all the mysteries already. I'm just waiting to hear back from the FBI to collect my reward.
Fantastic.
I also watched Barbarian, Unsolved Mysteries, and then yesterday, season 4 of The Dragon Prince came out, and I watched the entire thing.
Okay.
It's only 9 30-minute episodes. I love it. It's a kid show. I don't care. It's
You
made
don't
by
have a
the
problem.
people of Avatar, and it was fantastic.
I think I mentioned on the last episode that I went to see Tar. That's great. I'm happy, to mention it again. We're going to be talking about Tar later, at least some of us, about, when we do the Oscar episode. So we'll save it for then. Watch The Shining because I love The Shining and got that in before Halloween. Also, Blank Check is doing Kubrick right now, and it timed out pretty well. That movie's fucking great.
Oh yeah, I watched kind of randomly 2001 Space Odyssey as well.
That movie is also fucking great.
That movie was kind of bonkers.
Yeah, so good.
So if Tar doesn't get nominated, are you going to go back and do like a retraction? Like,
I'm not
called
worried.
this. All right, we'll see.
I'm not worried.
Wow, the confidence.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was very confident of you to announce that.
I don't have any money on it. It just doesn't cost me anything.
I will bet you $20 it doesn't win.
I don't think it's going to win Best Picture, but it's going to get nominated for a whole bunch of things.
It's not going to win.
No, I don't think it's going to win. It's too prickly, but that makes me just love it more. I also watched Resurrection. It came out over the summer. I think it premiered at Sundance. It's a Rebecca Hall movie. She's been in a lot of horror movies lately. She was in The Night House last year. Also a pretty bonkers, zany, cool concept that you haven't really seen before kind of horror movie.
It's a house that lures boats into rocks.
You would think that.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, it's like a Nightman, Dayman situation. Resurrection is out on Shudder now, which, as we all know, I contractually have to mention every episode. That streaming service owned by AMC, who I love very much. They're benevolent corporate overlord. And it's great. It's also very weird. I guess it's kind of a horror movie. It's mostly thriller, and then it gets kind of zany, I guess, and becomes just like fantastical horror at a certain point. I don't know. It's really good. The movie itself is probably like a solid like thumbs up. Maybe not something that I'm gonna revisit too many times or tell people that I love, but the performances really have elevated, especially Rebecca Hall, who was really good in movies like this. All right, cool. Then we're ready to talk Spidey.
We're ready to go into the Spider-Verse.
Yep, into the Spider-Verse. Transition. Webs.
Thwip.
Thwip.
There we go.
You want to talk about what you think about the movie?
Yeah, I'm dying to get into this movie.
Well, let's, as always, submit our disclosure forms and state our relationship previous to this episode with the film. I saw it in theaters. I've seen it a bunch of times since. I think this movie is good. You guys?
I saw it in theaters and then like maybe 30 to 50 times after seeing it in theaters, and I think it's great. I think it might be the best superhero movie there is.
Same. Saw it in theaters. Seen it like 50 times. It's awesome. We still watch it regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. Seen it a good handful of times, and I think it has probably one of the best like animation styles of any movie I've seen.
Which leaves Robbie.
I saw it last night.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bunch of woke nonsense. No, I'm just kidding. I loved it. It was fantastic.
Ugh. Can't believe they gave Gwen an undercut.
Right?
Might as well give her blue hair, too. Or they have her order a latte at Starbucks or whatever people are mad about.
She wouldn't even eat any spiders. She said she's a vegan.
It's messed up. Yeah, so that is where we're at. Who wants to give us a 1-minute plot summary?
One of the people that watched it 100 times.
Okay, I'll do it.
I'll twist your arm, yeah.
Yeah. So our movie starts off with Peter Parker. He's Spider-Man. He tells us about how he's Spider-Man. We cut to Miles Morales, our regular teenage boy at school. He gets bit by a spider and ends up seeing Spider-Man fighting some villains. Actual Spider-Man is killed. While this event's going on, a bunch of other Spider-Men are pulled into the universe. Miles doesn't know how to be Spider-Man, so they have to try and teach him how to be Spider-Man. The movie's mostly about his development along with some of these other Spider-Men. A lot of hilarity ensues, a lot of battling these villains, and it ends with them returning to this super collider that's brought them all back into this like universe, and Miles is able to come into his own as Spider-Man, send them all back to their universe, and destroy this super collider and take over the role of Spider-Man.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. I think you did it in about 50 seconds, actually.
I think that just wraps up. We're done here.
We're done here. So
Okay, let's do some ratings.
Before we get into like the context and the cast or whatever, I like to kind of just actually talk about the story for a little bit first. However, with this movie, I know the first time I saw it, and I'm wondering if you feel the same way, Robbie, what really sort of sticks with me, what jumps off the screen is just the look of this thing.
Yeah, it definitely had a really like. I kind of, to be honest, like that's what had prevented me from watching it for a little while. Is like just from the clips and stuff, I didn't know if I really liked that animation style. And starting off, I think I wasn't super into it, but as it went on and like, especially combined with the soundtrack and like the transitions and stuff like that, it really was very well done. And I actually did enjoy it. But
Okay, cool.
I'm a little weird when it comes to animated stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll say when I saw the trailer for this movie, my immediate thought was, I'm not going to see this movie. It's going to give me a headache.
yeah.
Was definitely my immediate thought. And then I think Will convinced me actually to go see it in theaters. And I feel like this movie gets you on board with that animation style just in the opening credits. They do all their like kind of sleek, kind of comic booky cuts with like, you know, Peter Parker, Spider-Man running around and doing his little scenes in New York. They already start off with their kind of awesome soundtrack right away. And I feel like it gets you on board. And I think this is like one of the coolest animation styles I've seen.
Yeah, I'd say like as like being an avid comic book reader, just seeing that on the big screen, like it was so cool to see.
As our like resident actual comic book reader person on this podcast, obviously what they're trying to do is make a comic book come to life in this. Has anything done it better that you're aware of?
No, not even close. I think that it's like
Not to ask a leading question, but yeah.
It is like just spot on, and even just like referencing sounds and whatnot, like tapping of a pencil and having the popping off like that is fantastic.
Yeah, I love whenever someone says anything and it shows up. It happens a lot with like woos and ahs where they like trail along the screen, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's the visual language of this thing is just so meticulously well reasoned and conceived. Just even down to how much they're playing with frame rates throughout it. How Miles is usually on the 2s, which is only every other frame, while the background's in 1 frame. How everything's in focus, so if you like pause it, stuff is in focus. There's no like motion blur, but they do the sort of color separation thing. So it's stuff that it would be out of focus if you were just directing with the camera. Actually just looks like sort of a misprint where the color isn't aligning. And that's how like the background's out of focus while like Miles in the foreground is in focus. It's just like some of it's in 2D, some of it's in 3D, some of it's hand animated, some of it's CGI. It's just so ridiculous what they did with this movie.
I feel like it's crazy. I feel like this movie is what, 2018, I want to say?
Yep.
I feel like at this time, too, all the other big, like, animation movies are just, like, flexing, like, how real can we make our movies look, and, like, certain animation aspects of them, like, trying to get, like, all the computer graphic animations, like, perfect. And then this movie comes out and is like, no. That's not what it's about. It's, like, all about, like, the style and the art. And, I don't know, it was a big change, and I felt like it was a real cool move.
It's technical skill versus artistic skill.
Yeah, Greg and I talk about this a lot. We probably talked about this in another podcast, but but in like art history, there was a trend where, you know, before the camera came out, the idea was you were trying to make art as realistic as possible. And then once it was done with the camera, now artists were like, well, we need to come up with something else to stand out. So
Can't compete with the camera.
so things like Impressionism started happening, and you know, once Pixar came around, they've developed like this beautiful animation that looks so realistic. Now companies have to come up with a way to really stand out and be different. And I think this is one of the first ones that's really done it pretty successfully.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we don't do a great job of always talking about like, wow, the behind the scenes, under the title line people that worked on this movie did a great job. But holy shit, all the animators and digital artists, wow, good job, y'all.
Yeah, you can tell they put a lot of like work into it, and I was worried, especially with the Spider-Verse concept, that it was going to be like messy and chaotic. They were going to be like going in and out of it, but like the way they even did all of that animation, you could still follow it. It didn't like give me a headache like I thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing that really helps with their concept in this movie is I feel like they have like the best exposition dumps I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah. One thing that it does really well is repetition of certain tropes and then mirroring of action that happened early in the movie towards the end at the climax. And yeah, all right, one more time from the top, from the beginning. Let's do this one more time. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then just the comic book getting thrown down. I love it every single time.
Yeah. And what, I mean, a great exclamation point on the "What's Up Danger" scene, but we'll get to that. We should talk about that just separately.
They did a good job too of like blending that line between like, I was like, do they know they're in a comic book? It feels like they kind of know, but then like in Miles even kind of touches on it a little bit, but they don't really like ever go into it one way or the other. And I thought that was really fun.
I feel like it always kind of plays on they kind of break the like fourth wall like a lot, but
close. He's like, you know, we always get to the end, and there's always a thingamabob, and there's always like, no, not yet. This is gonna become like it I don't know. Like you could just say that's experience. That's how things always play out, and like you as a viewer know that it's a comic book.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And like the same thing, like the same thing happens in comics. It's like there's always one big event that's going to happen and just loops all back.
yeah.
Well, speaking of breaking the fourth wall, this is produced by Lord and Miller. The same year that they were fired from Solo, they won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film as the producers of this.
Oof.
Um,
R.I.P. Solo.
yeah, so their Lego Movie, Clone High, 21 and 22 Jump Street. But this isn't them directing. This is them producing. I think they also produced Mitchell's vs. the Machines, I want to say. Or it just has their vibe. Directed by Bob Persichetti, Rodney, Rothman, and Peter Ramsey. I'm most familiar with Peter Ramsey. He also did Rise of the Guardians. Have you guys seen that? Surprisingly good.
I also have a song from its soundtrack on my phone, though.
Oh, good.
I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like kind of like secondary or tertiary holiday people are rising,
Yep,
and it's about Jack Frost. And
I recall seeing like the trailers and stuff and commercials, but
Yeah,
never
so that's-
actually saw that one.
Peter Ramsey was one of the three directors of this one. And yeah, the sense of humor in this is it's not like overwhelmingly fourth wall breaky, like especially 22 Jump Street gets sometimes, in a good way. I still love that. It's basically a live action cartoon, but just everything about this movie I feel like is pretty solid. Can you get that closer to the mic? Perfect.
That's the real content.
Go for it.
This guest is very, very pregnant.
How loud is that on your end?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing with this movie too is I feel like every single piece of comedy in this movie lands like
Yes.
really hard. It is so funny.
So
funny.
It's one of the more funny movies I've seen in a while. Like I wish I had wrote down some of the scenes, but like I was definitely like full like belly laughing on a lot of the scenes.
Like effortlessly too. It's not sweaty. It's just like,
no, it's
so
just
solid.
funny.
I mean, Miles is really sweaty in a lot of scenes.
This is true, but it's funny.
That's just puberty.
a lot of it was
Ew.
just situationally funny too. Like it almost felt like they weren't trying to be super funny, but they hit it so well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we know this is gonna do well.
They're really good with their timing on it, I think, is a big part of it, because I feel like it doesn't have the issue the Marvel movies have where like they're kind of putting in humor on moments that are like more emotional or should be like more impactful. I feel like they know when to drop those like lines and things like that.
Wait, you're trying to tell me that Thor Ragnarok didn't make any jokes at all on very tragic things that happened? Like all the people dying?
No, I mean like Marvel a lot of times will like use comedy to undercut really big moments, and I feel like this one doesn't do that.
And this also is probably maybe not the best, but it says probably my favorite Stan Lee cameo of Marvel movies.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's so good.
This one's really good, and the PS4 Spider-Man game has a really good Stan Lee cameo too.
I do like Tony Stank. That's a solid
Tony
cameo.
Stank's a good one. Him getting super drunk and saying Excelsior as they're like pulling him out. I think that's in Ultron.
Yeah, that's Age of Ultron. It's after he has the Asgardian
Yes.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I feel like this movie has a huge cast of characters, obviously, because it's pulled all these characters in, and some of them are like minor characters. You know, they don't do a lot, but all their characters that are like major characters, they like develop them really well. Like you can connect to like all these characters. They're all real, like fleshed out actual people.
Well, they are all actual characters.
Yeah, I know, but like,
They're real people too.
yeah. Okay.
Well, except
It's
for
real to me,
Greg's
damn it.
leaving.
except for the pig. That's a pig.
Yeah.
Can he say that? Is that legal?
It's such a good
That's
line.
all, folks.
that fucking kills me every single time.
Yeah.
Can you say that like legally?
Would you can finish your point if you'd like.
Like all the characters, like they all have like an arc. They all have like an emotional story to them, like the dad, the uncle, Miles, Peter, both Peters, I guess. That's a lot of characters for them all to like, for you to be able to connect with and like kind of feel something for.
Well, yeah, to be a superhero, you have to have someone dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Someone needs to die.
They make that point very clearly. So one thing that I wanted to pay attention to this time, because of the multiverse movies, and this is, though many have tried since, I still feel like this is the one that handles it by far the most elegantly. So obviously Miles is there, and the Chris Pine Spider-Man you meet right at the beginning, but he's only in a couple scenes. And then he meets Gwen pretty early, but he doesn't know that she's a spider person until like almost an hour in. Peter B. Parker comes in around 35 minutes. So what I wanted to pay attention to is how much time they spent with the other people. And like you're saying, they feel like pretty fleshed out and well developed. And the movie runs about an hour 54, I think.
Yeah, it's somewhere on there.
And the other three spider people / animals don't get introduced until over an hour into the movie. And then they're not part of like the last climactic thing. And then you factor in like 10 minutes for credits. They're really only in the movie for about 35 minutes. That's Spider Noir, Spider Ham, and Penny Parker. We all know. But yeah, so it's just, it doesn't feel too short. And they're really only there for like 2/5 of the movie, but it still feels like this whole expansive multiverse thing. But I guess that's the trick to not feeling way too overloaded and like it has to do too many things. No offense to Multiverse of Madness. And then taking to its most maximalist extent and everything everywhere all at once. But it doesn't actually do too many other things, but still gets to feel like it is, fleshing all these other characters and worlds out.
Yeah, I think those exposition dumps they do with the comics help that part a lot.
So much, yeah. What a good vehicle.
Well, they kept it at the level for like a child because it is
True.
like a kid's movie.
How dare you?
Really gets super complicated when you try to get into the multiverse. And it's like, well, let's stop doing this, people, because none of us have a master's degree in physics, and like you're not going to be able to get a much deeper understanding than what they did in Spider-Man. Like that's completely enough. You don't need to go crazy.
I know you're calling this a child's movie, but am I the only one who almost cries when they kill Spider-Man like 20 minutes into this movie?
Wow.
That's a real bummer.
It is horrible.
Spoilers.
It is like one of the worst things I've seen in like a superhero movie. I'm crushed when he's crushed.
I did think that was like a little intense for a kid's movie. Like
You're saying that.
Kingpin just like, okay, it's PG.
It is a kid's movie.
Parental guidance. Parents are there.
But
Kingpin just like murders him. Like it's pretty brutal.
But like that's also like a huge part of his character is like, if I actually stepped up, I could have helped, I could have did something. And he like, that's a huge thing of him like being like, oh, I have to now be Spider-Man.
That makes sense. I did love how they animated Kingpin though. He was like, just every time you see him, you kind of wanted to laugh. Like he looked like Groot, like got injected with a shit ton of steroids.
Honestly, it's so perfect and I love it so much.
Every time I see
good.
it, I think of you, Will, because I remember you complaining about Kingpin being like a real person in one of the things, and you were like, he's supposed to be really big. I'm like, but Will, he's an actor. You can't make him like that. This came out. I was like, Will's gonna love this.
The size of an SUV.
Perfect.
I do really enjoy like, what's the actor's name? He's fantastic as Kingpin in Daredevil.
I don't remember, but yes, that's what it was. It was Daredevil.
Yeah, he is fantastic in that role.
Current Netflix Daredevil,
one, yes.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh yes, he is fantastic.
D'Onofrio, one of the best physical actors of all time. Of course, he plays the Bugman in
It's
Men
just
in
hard
Black.
to find someone that square in real life.
Yes.
But like,
So square.
if you saw like a comparison, like in the actual comics, his hands are giant.
Yeah,
Like could crush your skull.
like
And his
Kingpin's
head's
almost
normal size.
He fights.
it is though. It's like maybe only a slightly bigger.
I like his big hunchback though.
Yeah.
It's like me.
He fights superheroes just with like, and he's not a mutant or anything, so he'd have to be ridiculously large. He's like
just
almost
a
like
head
the
in the middle
Blob
of a
in
billboard.
Marvel.
He's
Doesn't
literally
he-
just a person.
Doesn't he throw a taxi at Miles in this movie?
He's very
Yes, he
strong,
does.
Greg.
He can leverage his massive body weight very well.
He weighs more than a taxi, so.
He ate all of his vegetables.
Oh man.
Voiced by Liev Schreiber, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the Scream episode. He's in a non-speaking role in Scream. He's in this, and soon we'll complete the Liev Schreiber trilogy and do Spotlight. 3 movies that go great together.
They all do start with an S.
Well, we're mentioning him and Scream. I want to also mention that I said on the Scream episode, it was our second Drew Barrymore movie. It was actually our 4th Sorry.
Ooh.
I forgot the other ones. And so, yeah, this is a good entry point for talking about the voice cast. As someone who really likes New Girl and hadn't seen this movie before, were you very, very excited to hear Jake Johnson's voice?
I was super excited. And like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, I think that might be. And then like, once they went into his backstory, it's like, nope, this is too perfect for Nick's character to not be his backstory. Like if Nick did suddenly get bit by a Spider-Man, like a spider, this would be his.
Yeah, it just basically is what Jake Johnson does.
Bit by
It's just
Spider-Man.
once you got bit by a spider.
Spider-Man. Why would you bite it?
Just a feral spider. There's got to be a feral Spider-Man in the
It's probably a
multiverse.
zombie one, right?
We
There
don't
is
know.
a
It doesn't work.
Spider-Man.
Oh,
Terrifying.
It is terrifying.
You know, we don't know that it doesn't work that way. Have we ever seen Spider-Man bite someone?
We don't know. Yeah, but honestly, I don't want to. I don't want to say Jake Johnson makes this movie because the rest of the cast is like really, really good. But man, all his everything he says is just so funny. Even like you said, his like exposition dump that they give for him when he's like talking, he's like crying in the shower.
It's so good.
And he's talking about
Doing
like,
ab
getting
crunches,
strong.
getting strong.
He's talking. Imagine two seahorses just meeting and making it work.
Yes. The thing is, all of that dialogue could have come from Nick's character in New Girl, which is what
Yeah,
I
a lot
don't
of
know.
it.
A
A
lot
lot
like,
of his reactions too. It's just
especially the seahorse part. Like I could see him telling so like after he got broken up with. That's enough about New Girl.
His
But like
voice is,
honestly,
like breaking when he's talking about the seahorses too.
yes,
so
he's
good.
fantastic. Everybody should watch New Girl.
The bread
really
scene
good.
later is also really perfect with him.
oh, yeah.
I
I
will
will
get
get
you
you all the
so
bread you
much
want.
bread. I will fill this room with bread for you.
Yeah,
So good.
Selecting a bagel. The scene with him and Alchemax too. You're good news, kid. We don't need the monitor.
I love he was giving his plan like step 4, steal a bagel.
And the part where he's like, we find the lead scientist, and Miles is like, oh, actually, it's that lady with the bike. Oh, okay. I examined my personal biases.
Step 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's excellent in this, and I assume he's in Across the Spider-Verse, which I believe comes out in about a year now. But maybe not. I guess they could go in different multiversal directions, but hopefully not.
I really love that they're able to tell like a complete story for his character too, as well as like Miles, and that they have a really good dynamic between him and Miles that I really like.
Yeah. They did a little bit of that too, because I was trying to, when we were talking about them fleshing out all the characters, it's like, I guess not really for a lot of the Spider-Men in it, but they did for Spider Noir a little bit too, it felt like he kind of had a tiny bit of growth. And then...
Yep. He figured out the Rubik's Cube.
figured out the Rubik's Cube, and I think he made another comment, but I can't remember now. That like just like, oh, it's a lot different here than it is in like the 30s or something
Yeah.
like that. And then even the Spider Girl, not Gwen,
Penny.
Penny Parker, she seemed to have a little bit of something with like when the robot died and stuff like that. Like now she's gonna have to go back and like try to figure out how to rebuild this because she
Yeah.
got that from her dad. So
Yeah,
like,
it was her dad's robot.
there was definitely like a little, even like with the short amount of time they had, they gave you a good amount.
Yeah, and like Gwen also was like, "Oh, I can have friends again."
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Everybody got like a little, even if it was just a Rubik's Cube.
Really tough to sort of build characters in such a efficient way without relying on sort of cliches or tropes, and to actually make it effective. And that final scene where they're saying goodbye to each other and you can feel like genuine affection. And I feel like Nick Cage's delivery there is really good.
Yeah,
Can't help but think, imagine if 10 years ago someone was like, hey, you're not going to believe this. Nick Cage is playing Spider-Man, and he's fucking great. You're going to love him.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, after watching Kick-Ass, I'd be like, "Yeah, I can see that."
That was
Okay.
his,
Spider-Man, though?
that was Spider Noir's thing because he was talking about how we don't have feelings, and then at the end he gives like a really emotional goodbye. That's what connected with me. But yeah,
Yeah.
and from Nick Cage of all people.
He's
a great
so
actor.
good in this movie.
We love Nick Cage.
He's so good.
He's super good in this movie. Hailee Steinfeld's Gwen, Nick Cage, and John Mulaney is Spider-Ham. We mentioned it. John Mulaney in there,
Just
being funny.
a great bit of comic relief. It was,
I just washed my hands. That's the reason they're wet.
No, there's no other
Dude,
reason.
do animals talk in your dimension? I don't want to freak them out.
When he sadly gives him the mail and says, "It'll fit in your pocket."
It's so good.
I really I don't want to get too into how did he get his powers kind of thing, but I really wanted to see how that hammer worked in his dimension. Like, could Miles really use the hammer? But I don't think it's ever coming back.
Did you hear
Probably
his
not.
story where he got bitten by a radioactive pig?
Briefly.
It only flashes for like a second because it's showing like the three at the same time.
Yes. Oh, man. That was funny. The hands joke, too. I was like, this sounds like it came straight from John Mulaney's stand-up. Like, did they have them write their own dialogue for this thing? Because,
I think there's a lot of alternates with Mulaney, especially. I vaguely remember watching a featurette about that kind of thing. And just to round out, Shameik Moore plays Miles. Brian Tyree Henry plays his dad, Jeff. Jefferson Davis, always a name that I forget is a character's name in Marvel. Funny. And Mahershala Ali plays Prowler.
Oh yeah, I always forget it's him.
Oh,
Uncle
Yes,
Aaron is
and he's great.
such a good character.
Everyone's doing it. Everyone gets
Robbie.
like an emotional scene. Everyone's really good.
At what point did you know Uncle Aaron was evil? Did you know right away? Do you know when Prowler goes into the apartment, or did you not know until like the mask?
it was, I don't want to say almost instantly, but when he brought them there and then he got bit by the spider and then Miles came back and saw the collider, I was like, what engineering project was he working on? And then when Prowler came back and was fighting, I was like, oh, that's his uncle.
I retract my statement. He's not evil. And also, why did you assume he couldn't have been an engineer?
Because he took him into a broken down part of the sewer and was like, I did an engineering project down here. And I was like, what kind of engineering project did you do down here?
I guess it was an evil engineering project.
Yeah, an evil one.
And that's as soon as you saw the thing, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that checks out. I don't know.
It's not evil, it's cutting edge.
Yeah.
what I am excited for is to see Donald Glover play the Prowler now, because he's in
Yeah,
the
that's
Hollandverse,
supposedly what's going to happen, right? That's what they're saying. I don't know.
which means Miles Morales is in the universe.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
He's in the universe, but he's like 11 right now.
Yeah,
Me and
he mentions it.
Me and Ray already figured that out. They're not going to show him. They did that as a threat to Tom Holland. Like, don't you fuck this up, Tom. We can get rid of you immediately. We already dropped threads for Miles Morales. We could cut your contract in 2 seconds.
They'll kill him off, and then it'll be Spider-Man.
We can pump any tiny British boy full of steroids. Just you watch.
Wait, what were you, Prowler? Donald Glover is going to be in what?
So in Holland, the Hollandverse.
The Holland verse. Okay, that's what you said.
Yeah, in Homecoming, in the first one, Donald
Yeah.
Glover's in it. As
He's like, oh, I
Aaron
saw these
Davis.
weapons. I don't want them on the street. I have a nephew here.
It took
And
a
he's
while
referencing Miles
for me to
Morales.
make that connection too. But when they tell you about his character, they tell you what his name is.
Yeah,
And it's Miles' uncle.
Okay.
Aaron, yeah.
yeah, because they name
Oh.
drop Aaron Davis.
Interesting. Okay.
And they do spend a
All right.
weird amount of time on Donald Glover in that movie.
Yeah, and he says something like, "I don't want these weapons here because my nephew lives in this neighborhood" or something, and
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the drops
kind of
there.
like a little Easter egg thing. But
I didn't even realize that Prowler is in the Hollandverse already.
Yeah, it's Donald Glover.
I
He
did
also,
see
He,
Theoretically.
he hasn't done anything. It's literally just one scene with Donald Glover saying that thing, like, my nephew lives here, and they name him Aaron Davis or whatever it is.
and then you have people like me who are so excited.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was there for me.
I was like, did I miss a whole villain? No. Wait.
No. You didn't miss
no, it's just like an
really
Easter egg.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of villains in that movie.
Yeah. And just Catherine Hahn's also in this movie. Lily Tomlin, Lake Bell, Zoe Kravitz, all doing various level of voice work in here. Cool movie. And I think we've talked around it enough. So, story wise, how was I always love the pacing of this movie. I feel like the learning to control your Spider-Man powers is always a big part of a Spider-Man movie, and I feel like this has a very good one there. When he starts hearing the internal monologue, the speech boxes start coming up, and he's got the pigeons on his hands on the building.
Yeah, him figuring out that he's got the powers is really good, especially too when at first he's like, oh, I grew, I'm taller now. Oh, it must be puberty and
Yep, you just grew 4 inches overnight.
But the way they show his spidey senses too, starting as him he can hear everybody and his voice is too loud. I thought that was really cool, and it helped because they had such a cool way of being able to animate it because they had access to comic panels as little side things. That made it really cool.
I loved how they were all so willing to help because they were Spider-Man, but so bad at being a teacher because nobody taught them anything.
Right.
So
Because they're
like,
Spider-Man.
Because they're Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
they're just like you can see how badly they want to teach them, but it really just boils down to you got to figure it out, kid. Especially like since he doesn't have the normal powers they do. It's like really, I don't know what to tell you. Like just be invisible.
I like that a lot too because it's, I don't know, it makes it a good children's movie, I guess. But Miles he's a teenager.
Yep.
And he has to try and figure out, his life and his struggles. And I like that instead of going in a direction where a lot of movies would go where they have no support, they got to figure it out on their own. It goes the opposite direction. He has like a ton of support. He has a very supportive father. He has an uncle that he's really close to, a mother, all these other people, but he still has to figure it out on his own. It doesn't matter if you have all these supports. It's your life and you got to figure it out.
It doesn't matter if you have alternate versions of you from different universes. Even they can't help you figure it out.
He just needed his dad to say that I'm proud of you and you can do what you want.
Great, another great scene.
The dad in this movie is awesome. I love a movie where the dad is just like, he's just an awesome dad. He's great. Like he really doesn't ever do anything wrong. Maybe he's a little like,
Sir, I love you back.
yeah.
He's so good.
That's fantastic.
Brian Tyree Henry from Atlanta. He's in a bunch of movies now too.
What does he say with
with great
With great ability
comes great accountability.
comes great accountability. Yeah.
That's not how it goes, Dad. If you finish that sentence.
Yes, him meeting Peter B. Parker for the first time is one of the best scenes. I remember that being like an end credits teaser or something in a different whatever. That's very vague, and I apologize, but I remember seeing at the end of a different movie that sequence where the police say there's a kid dressed as Spider-Man dragging a homeless corpse. Yeah,
It's funny because he's wearing two different shoes too.
yes. For a lot of the movie, he's wearing two different shoes. Yeah,
I paid attention to that this time, and it's because when he gets pulled in, he like rips the bottom of his costume off.
Yes.
He's
So
missing
he's
his
just gonna
pants.
like forage for like pants and shoes.
yes. Oh man, but yes, that sequence where they're being dragged by the train is incredible.
It's so
so
good
good.
too. And I love too when they fall on the ground and everyone just walks around them. Like nobody
Thanks,
gives a
New
fuck. Thanks, New York.
Classic.
Yeah,
And everybody is dressed as well. Oh my God, when they're standing in the crowd and he's like, you have to be Spider-Man now. And he's, I have to be Spider-Man now? I think he just means that metaphorically.
it's a very good joke.
It's really good.
So they do a really great thing here that definitely the first time, I mean, they tell you straight up that someone Miles cares about is going to die with the repetition of all the Spider-Men and women and pigs coming in and saying like, here's my tragic backstory, just over and over again. And then like, it didn't, for the first time I watched it, didn't sink into me like, oh, obviously someone that Miles cares about has to die for him to like become Spider-Man. And then the Uncle Aaron stuff, I feel like plays out really well in that fight at May's house.
Yeah, even after watching this movie a bunch of times, you know how it's all going to play out. It's still just so good. Like, they do such a good job showing that relationship with Uncle Aaron and how like bonded they are. And then he discovers the uncle's the Prowler before the uncle discovers that he's Spider-Man. And like the fact that once he's got Miles cornered, Miles knows like I can just tell him who I am. And, he's my uncle. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
See, for me,
Whoa, hardcore origin story.
Yeah.
for me, that threw me for like a huge loop because I've read like his origins and it's it's his mom that dies.
Yeah.
So I was like so blown away by that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in the PS4 Spider-Man, it's his dad who dies.
Yeah, it is. That's
Right.
what it flipped around for that one as
yep.
well.
They're trying to constantly keep you on your heels
They
if
really
you think you
are.
know what's coming.
Oh, everybody's looking at me.
It seemed like you were gearing up for something.
I was, but I kind of lost the thought. It was somewhere along the lines of like, well, they gotta have one like superhero where like both parents don't die. Like, it's nice that there's somebody with like, they got that supportive system, like, and without killing off one of them. But I don't know. I guess there's other people like that. I guess you just don't normally see a lot of superheroes that still live with their parents. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem like the best superhero stories, or at least the ones that connect in movie form, as someone who hasn't really read the comic books, are people who like feel like they need to be alone so they don't hurt the people around them. Right?
Unless you're Tony Stark.
Unless you're Tony Stark, yeah. Yeah, but the exception that proves the rule, right? He's the only guy that can do that.
Well, he did build like 50 suits to just like patrol all of his family. So
Yeah,
I guess
but
that helps.
Yeah.
There's a terrorism attack on his house.
Didn't activate the suit. Different movie. We'll get into that some other time.
Yeah, but he gave the terrorist his address.
And then didn't
That's
activate.
Iron Man 3, right?
Yeah, it's Iron Man 3.
It's like, oh, I guess I could have these suits just fly around and patrol, but whatever.
Normally, I don't like to talk about that movie, but it is the Christmas season, so I guess now it's appropriate.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, the way the pacing of this movie, it's almost 2 hours long, but it does not drag at all.
It flies, this movie.
It flies. It has stuff that you could maybe predict, like, oh, this is going to go like this. He's not going to really be able to do it. They're going to leave him behind. He's going to have to find his inner strength. And then he'll eventually be the guy that stays behind to have the final climactic showdown with Kingpin. But the way they execute it is, I think it's the best way you can do a superhero movie. You just can't do it any better than this.
Yep, yeah. Because even like, I love the scene at Alchemax or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that scene's like an hour into the movie. And that's like the first time I guess there's some action when like Spidey gets killed, but like this is the first time Miles is really doing anything like Spider-Man related, and it's like an hour into the movie, and that scene's awesome. Did you have any idea that lady was going to be Doc Ock, Robbie?
No, that definitely caught me by surprise.
She actually has like a bunch of the arms littered around her office.
Yeah.
That she's like working on.
Oh, I didn't.
It's all like background things. So if you're just like listening and paying attention to that stuff, like you gloss right over it.
Yeah, it didn't. It did not click whatsoever.
Yeah, I did notice this time there's like an arm on her desk, but like if you don't know, maybe you think it's just some kind of miscellaneous science experiment tube or something.
Well, the way she acts too, you're just like, oh, she's a huge fan, and it's like, oh no, she's a giant enemy.
Yeah, she seems kind of crunchy, but
I did really love that too. Like, oh, let me guess, your friends call you Doc Ock. No, my friends call me Liev. My enemies call me Doc Ock.
Yeah. I think only the first time that Catherine Hahn was a surprise villain in a Marvel thing, but not the last.
Spoilers.
What other movie was she a surprise villain in?
It was a TV show. I don't want to. I guess if you haven't watched it, I don't want to spoil it.
What show?
WandaVision.
Oh, okay. I don't know who she is.
I don't know who she
in
is.
real
Oh.
life.
I didn't realize that was the same person.
Same person.
That's fantastic.
Okay. It's like
Yeah, so you should have known the second time, right? WandaVision was probably after this.
She's
a really famous
less
person. Yeah,
less
yes.
animated in WandaVision.
should have known it was her all along.
Will, are there other like Spider-Man stories where Doc Ock is a female?
I'm sure there are. I only know like a little bit of Spider-Man stuff, but like as you saw, all the million Spider-Man, those all actually do exist. So I can only imagine there's a different iteration of Doc Ock across all of them.
Yeah, she is in that preschool show that Renly watches. The Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a female Doc Ock in that one
Is
too.
Miles
The kind
in
of
that
like
one as well?
cheaty ones.
Yes.
Is that one voiced by Donald Glover? I know that he
I
is the
don't
voice
think
of
so.
Miles Morales in something.
No.
And it's Spider-Gwen's in that one too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I like Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen's dope.
I
In a band, that's cool.
sick to be in a band, yeah.
It's so cool. Is that it?
All the dialogue that Miles and Peter B. Parker have in Alchemax just kills me. Like
Yeah, it's
him
so good.
stealing the bagel and be like, now would be a really good time to go invisible. Not gonna go invisible. Okay. And Miles like hacking into the desktop too, and it just opens up, and the whole desktop is like files.
A mess.
Organize your desktop.
Remember
lady.
this password.
You don't look
I
at
love
age over
I love
35.
I love the desktop being all cluttered, and then just the way they like designed her animation, because even with like the hair like all of a mess and stuff like that, and like the office kind of like it really like it built that character in 2 seconds flat. They didn't really have to do exposition. Like she's cluttered and chaotic. That's Liv Octavia.
I love too when he first like opens that thing and all the desktop icons show up. All they do, they don't change. Like, obviously, he's invisible. He's got the mask on. They don't change the expression. Instead, they just give him an exclamation point question mark. Shows up on the side of his head, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect. Like that's all you need." And that's right before that's when he's stuck to the ceiling too. And Peter's yelling at him, "You gotta relax. What do you do to relax?"
I just sing.
You gotta be kidding me.
So great.
funny.
I love when they're escaping too, and like they have the laptop, and the scientist he's like, "Hey, he's got a bagel."
He took a bagel.
I don't know if you caught it, but when Miles throws the bagel and hits someone in the head, the splash goes bagel.
Oh, I didn't. I saw it say something, but I didn't read it. Like I thought it said funk or something like that. But that's awesome.
What's really cool throughout this movie that I now that we're talking about it and like analyzing it, I'll remember. But I always forget that it kind of does every now and then pick a couple frames to just be like a splash page. And just have, I think the one that's standing out in my mind now, there's a bunch during the Prowler chase, but him jumping in front of the subway. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I like the one when he tries to jump off the building and he trips over a shoelace. As he falls, it gets that's like trailing. But when he hits the ground, it cuts to like a little image of like a little like, pop of the USB drive like cracking. It's a little like cartoon hand-drawn USB drive like cracking as if it was on like a comic book page, and I like that one a lot.
And there's a lot of times that it has like 3 panels of things happening, and when Ang Lee did it for his Hulk movie, everyone thought it was dumb, but I guess it's cool now.
I really like the shoelace thing too, because it's just like I'm doing it for the aesthetic.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's,
like,
it's a choice.
Of course, it has to
It's a
come up
choice.
when he's doing this momentous. Like I'm gonna just like, see, you got to tie your shoes.
I do really like that he's like, okay, in the comic, we're going to this building right here. And he's like, nah, it's too high. And he goes to the next smaller one.
That scene with the like walking back down the stairs was very fantastic.
Yeah. Good movie. So yeah, P does find his ability to do the what do they call it, like the Venom Strike?
Venom shot.
Yeah,
The Venom,
I think they call it Venom Strike in this. They only say it one time,
yes.
and it's when like
Which
Peter's
is
holding him.
Yeah, which is weird because I'm always like,
Peter names it.
well, why are you naming it?
Why are you naming it?
Do a Venom Strike get past me? I'll be like, what's that?
It's like, and
I
why
haven't named it
why
yet.
are you naming it after one of your enemies? Like, isn't that going to be confusing with like the other Venom?
That I love that part because obviously that's what the movie's building to.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yep.
It's a superhero like origin story. You know where it's all leading, but I just feel like it still hits so hard. I think it helps like that his dad comes and he's like tied up and he can't talk to his dad, and his dad gives him that like,
and that's what gets him pumped and stuff to do it.
yeah. I think that like that really helps. Then obviously the whole scene after is like so well done. Like the way they chose to like edit it with him visiting Aunt May as it's all happening, I felt like was really, really good.
Yeah, the kind of double montage of him building the suit with him already like getting into position up on the building. And we're talking about the What's Up Danger scene.
I was gonna say, and with that dope soundtrack.
Yes.
The soundtrack is so phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah, I can count on, I mean, maybe I have to use fingers and toes, but on the digits of my body and maybe teeth, I can count on the number of times I've been as pumped in a movie theater as that scene.
Yeah. Wicked good scene. I love that he spray paints the suit.
Yes.
I always get a little bit mad about that because, like, why didn't he just pick the black suit?
Yeah, there was a black suit.
You know, there was a black suit. Just
He-
pick
he
it
had-
and you
It's
can.
him,
He had to do it
though.
himself.
It's his thing.
You
I
gotta
know,
add
I
your
get
flavor.
it, but like, it would have been a lot less effort to use red spray paint and then, do the whole thing black. I don't know.
It's his suit.
Yeah.
You're,
Leave him alone.
if you really want to pick on it, pick on the fact that all the suits are twice as tall as him.
What are you, some
They're
kind of art
stretchy.
history major?
Also in that montage when the first time he goes into the like spider shed And he's looking at the reflection of the suit, and he's way shorter than it. And then during this montage, you actually see his head as high as the suit, which is great.
I feel like that's like a direct pull from the Captain America movie.
Sure.
Oh,
He like it's like you can be in the military, and
Sure,
it's like
yeah.
head's way lower.
this one's got a cape.
I think
love
there's a cave.
When they visit that spider shed or whatever, too, he's like, "Yeah, mine just like that. Just pick the note, get rid of the Jeep, the helicopter, picture a futon."
A little less pretentious.
It's like I feel bad for him, honestly.
But yeah, that scene's amazing. I mean, the look of it, it's just a showcase of the talent of everyone involved. And again, just the conception of when he jumps off that's flipped, so he's rising, he's not falling.
I think they do one of the tri-panel things for him jumping too.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
just the impact of him jumping, shattering the glass behind him is so.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
That
he
was
still
a really
can't let
cool
go.
scene to see in theaters.
Yes.
Like, I feel like it does lose something when you watch it at home.
yeah, you kind of feel like you're floating.
What?
It's
Yeah, those idiots who just watched it at home.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's one of those moments where you just feel like, you know, a sort of weightlessness as just, again, the shot of him going up with the building, like to meet the
Music
buildings.
really helps
Holy
too.
shit.
I think like several of the songs from this were like radio hits after this movie came out. If I remember
Sunflower
correctly.
certainly was. I think some others too. Yeah. So then climactic battle, and this is where we can talk about the Kirby dots that are throughout this movie that they purposely not only have as sort of like the kind of look of a lot of the animation, but also a literalization, I guess, of the dots as a sort of representation of stuff that's been affected by the super collider. The dots that kind of like just look like big bubbles everywhere. That's not just that. I watched the video. They talk about they did that on purpose.
Must be a Banksy.
Yeah. But how? And then I just want to say that final scene where everything just goes off, and they totally earn the ability to just be like, okay, we're just in like a zero gravity kind of void, and we're just going to do the craziest animation shit for the last 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's definitely just like, hey, this is a comic book movie. Like we're just going
Yeah.
for it.
Yep.
Kingpin's gonna throw a taxi.
Yep. All that shit's so good.
Yeah, the fight against Kingpin's wicked good. Honestly, that whole final scene is great. I love that he steals the USB from Peter B. Parker.
Watch the hands.
Watch the hands. Yeah, oh, you gotta be kidding me. The fact that comes back, and then he does the move that he saw the original Peter Parker do in the beginning.
Yeah.
To like where he does that weird spin off the super collider, and they're like,
Yes.
did we teach him that? We taught him that, right?
Oh, I didn't pick. I remembered them saying that, but I didn't pick up like he got it from the other.
He watched the other Peter do that in the beginning, and he was like, whoa. And that was like right around the time too when he's getting attacked, and he's like, I should go help him. And he's like, wait, what am I thinking? I definitely should not go up there.
Yeah.
He would have no way to get up there besides just crawling.
No, he has no ability to do that. But yeah, so I love that, you know, he copies that, and then obviously the leap of faith comes back too when he's giving the emotional arc to
Yeah.
Peter B. Parker, and like, you got to go home, man. I love that. Even
Yeah.
when Miles shows up at that scene too, and he's like, I love you. He's like, do I want to have kids?
And just while we're still talking about them, to touch on another thing I got from those videos, which if you really want to deep dive on all the tech and the innovations that they did and the different things that they were thinking about as they were animating it, you can go down an extremely deep rabbit hole on YouTube watching their videos. But one thing that's worth just directly lifting from there, when he actually is teaching Miles how to do the swinging, at the beginning, Miles and him are in different frame rates. And then as they go on and Miles is getting better at it, they actually sync up, and then they're in the same frame rate when they're like looking at each other and like bonding. Just cool concept of a thing that, like, you know, if you didn't see it in theaters, you might not even notice.
I have a 75-inch TV. Okay,
You really only get that quality if you see it in theaters or on Shudder.
That's right. And just you act now, and it's a really cheap price, probably. Anyway, yes. So that final scene, we already talked about the emotional goodbyes, but everyone gets some good stuff in there with Spider-Ham fighting Scorpion, and Good shit.
I did like their portrayal of Scorpion, that he was like this weird mech person thing. Like that was fun.
Did you like Green Goblin?
Green Goblin was a little.
He was big beefy.
He was a little beefy. I was like, all right, I guess that is a goblin. Like,
Oh, yeah,
what's his
great.
glider look like?
Well, he's just got the wings.
I always forget that they just fucking kill him immediately. He's just fucking dead.
He's dead. Yep.
What killed him? Like
When
he
the
just got
collider
all
explodes,
the
The
stuff
glider
just falls on him.
exploded.
you
yeah.
see his body really quick. Like his hand, Miles like looks at it and is like shocked, and he's just dead there.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
But that's yeah. Good ending. Cool stuff. They reconcile, him and his dad, Jeff. And then he gets in bed, and after his really cool monologue about like anyone can wear the mask, and I'm Spider-Man. And
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Every time I see this movie, I'm like, I'm
can
gonna
do
go.
this.
I'm gonna go fight crime in the middle of the night. I'm gonna go beat people up. I'm gonna put on a mask, beat some people up.
A couple lovely grace notes with at the end, the kind of, multiverse bubbles show up around his bed, and you hear Gwen saying hi to him. And then the quote that they have from Stan Lee at the end that, anyone who does the right thing is a superhero or whatever. That I'm not trying to diminish it. I'm just paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact wording. But yeah, cool movie.
I love the. I look forward to working with you, officer. I love you. What?
I love it.
I also like too that they were like, we just made probably the best animated movie in I don't know how many years. And I'm like, let's just make some fucking crazy ass animated credits too, just because.
Those credits are great.
Yeah, let's
I
make
always
our
watch
credits
them.
more well animated than like every other movie that came out this year.
Good credits.
And then just even the end credits, they're like, all right, let's also just jump into a meme real quick because people will love this. And like normally that stuff is so like, I don't know, you're like, oh, fan service, but I loved it. I had no notes. I'm like, that was fantastic.
Oscar Isaac is Spider-Man 2099, and
Look, you're pointing at me right
pointed-
now.
yeah, you pointed first. Who pointed first? Spider-Man pointed first.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. And yeah, cool movie. So this takes place in a not this Earth. Which Earth is this one? And which Earth is the like main Earth?
The main Earth is 616. This
Okay.
would be 1616.
Okay.
That's what the like ultimate universe is, and that's where like all those come from.
There's so many universes.
Yeah, I don't know all the comic stuff, but I knew this wasn't the regular Earth because I'm the Spider-Man in regular Earth.
Right,
that
that's
makes
true.
sense.
When they're messing with the collider, it'll be like, oh, there's a bunch of universes, and they all pop up, and it shows like which designation they are.
Mm.
It's only for like a half second.
Yeah, that makes sense. Robbie, did you pick up on all the Times Square jokes? Because when the multiple times that you see characters getting thrown into Times Square, the billboards are all like jokes.
No, I didn't even notice that.
Cool. I tried to write there's From Dusk Till Shaun, which is Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in their Shaun of the Dead costumes, but it's a poster for a movie called From Dusk Till Shaun. There's Planet Inglewood instead of Planet Hollywood. There's the bridesmaid posters, but it says baby showers. Blake Griffin is a baseball player instead of a basketball player for the New York Red Sox.
Oh no.
There's
Probably made some people angry.
There's a poster for an upcoming sequel movie to Clone High called Clone College. Lord and Miller, of course, got their start on Clone High back in the day for MTV. There's just the same poster as Oh Hello, the Nick Kroll and John Mulaney on Broadway show, but it just says Hi Hello.
Also little Easter eggs that they throw in when Miles is hanging out with Uncle Aaron on the TV is like Spider-Man playing. And
nice.
When he's panicking and he's looking for someone to call, above Uncle Aaron's name is B. Bendis, and it's Brian Michael Bendis, who is the writer of Miles
Wow.
Morales.
That's nice.
Let me call my writer.
Also, the Red Man Group instead of the Blue Man Group.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other ones too, but
And a lot of 42s everywhere.
a lot of 42s.
They had fun with it.
Chance the Rapper is wearing a hat with a 4 on it instead of a 3.
I don't know if I would have. I didn't even know Chance the Rapper was in it.
In poster form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Good movie.
good movie.
Fantastic.
Amazing, even.
Spectacular.
Good colors. Not enough colors in movies these days. That's what I say.
Yeah, it's nice to have a movie where when it's nighttime you can see.
Yes.
They're like, you know what? Night. It's bright at night. There's lights everywhere. You can see stuff.
Yeah,
It's
man.
New York.
Good.
I'll let you see whatever you want. Yeah, throw some
Colors.
extra colors in there.
You want to see people's faces and the action? We'll let you have it.
Yeah, all yours.
All yours.
Finally, something not lit by torchlight.
Like this movie, you can't make something like this live action. There's just no way. And I really do feel like, and I don't know how controversial this is, but I really do think this is the best superhero movie that's come out. Among all those Marvel movies, DC movies, this is my favorite superhero movie. And I think it's because the other ones can't do some of the stuff that this one can.
They can't make it as close to the comics because it's basically a comic.
I mean, as for like the animation, like the style of crazy things you can do, I think Doctor Strange has made a lot of like good like leaps for that, especially things like the mirror dimension and whatnot.
Visually, sure.
Yeah, visually, sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good segue. What off the top of your head would be a contender for best superhero movie? If, like Greg was saying, this is to his mind the best one.
Or like maybe like your top couple, because I feel like it's always hard to pick like a best.
I feel like I've been enjoying the ones more that are outside of like the MCU or, you know, outside of like the DCU. I don't know. Like Kick-Ass is
You're
a
a
good
huge
one.
Snyder fan, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you have every version of Justice League. is up there.
Absolutely, yes. Kick-Ass is good. Like I feel like I don't know. There's something about this one that's just super refreshing too. Even though it is Marvel, it's just very refreshing compared to like everything else that's been put out.
Would you consider Free Guy a superhero movie?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
The Incredibles,
Big Hero
There you
6
go.
is really
Yeah, I was
good.
gonna say
Big Hero 6.
I mean,
Yep.
that is still
It is-
technically
it is
Marvel,
Marvel.
but it is really nice for an animated movie.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Incredibles 2 either. I need to watch
good.
that.
Big Hero 6, phenomenal.
Bob Odenkirk's in it.
Oh, no way.
You don't
Yeah.
need to see Incredibles 2 because it lost Best Animated to Spider-Verse, so it's not as good.
Man.
Yeah, we
Those
should
are big
transition
year
into that
shots.
soon. But for me, Incredibles, the first Incredibles is easily up there for superhero movies. I mean, the basic ass answer is pick any Batman that you want. I love Returns, Dark Knight, easy picks. I don't know. Of the MCU Marvel movies, either of the Guardians would probably be like the most likely ones I'd pick from that bunch. We didn't plan to like actually rank them, but just talking about, what other contenders might be in the conversation.
I still think Iron Man 1 is probably one of the best like Marvel movies there is.
We did like that a lot when we talked about it in May.
I think what helps that one too, though, is because it's one of the early ones. Because like even now when I'm like, oh, what's my favorite ones? I feel like all those Marvel movies in the middle just kind of jumble up. Like it's hard to separate them because like they're all so similar to each other. So it's like Ray was saying, like this one's refreshing. It's those ones that are like kind of standouts. Either they did something new or different. Like Iron Man was one of the first, so it was new. It was unique.
Yeah, it's not just
Chronicle.
a tie-in movie.
Yeah.
Chronicle is really good.
Chronicle is fantastic. And that wasn't by Marvel or any of those. That was so good.
And be remiss not to mention the Sam Raimi Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire also.
Yeah, whenever I say like I'm like this is the best Spider-Man, it's the best superhero one. The things I always think of is like, oh, I know someone's going to tell me that those Sam Raimi Spider-Man ones are like better.
They're
But
so good.
this is still my favorite Spider-Man movie for sure. I think it's my favorite superhero movie, but I know it's my favorite
They
Spider-Man.
even made fun of that one in this one.
They touched on like all of them.
No, they did. They did the walking down the street scene, and they were like, "We
Yeah,
don't talk
I
about that
agree.
scene."
It's like, yeah, we don't talk about that.
They did the upside down kissing from 1. The opening montage also had him holding the train back from 2.
Mm.
They hit them all. Yeah, and that's so funny.
It was very funny.
The visual gag of the messed up popsicle also very funny.
So popsicle. It's literally just a picture, like an actual like photo of this popsicle.
I like
Yeah,
the Christmas
just a
special
JPEG.
music.
Yes.
He's got a nice voice.
Yeah, it's kinda-
And TGI Spideys.
Yeah.
Don't open a restaurant.
Made some bad decisions.
Yeah.
But for real though, a restaurant opened by Spider-Man would have been successful just by nature that Spider-Man owned it.
I don't think he opened it. He said, "Don't invest in a spider-themed restaurant." So
Oh,
someone
yes,
else opened
okay,
TGI
yeah.
Spideys.
I'm sure Jonah Jameson would have been like, "Don't go there.
They have bugs in their food.
Just trying to get him
A
canceled. all
big
the time.
giant one.
There's spiders
Spider-Man.
everywhere."
Yes, I think we named all the superhero movies who we like. And then I also wanted to transition. What did you say that we're like, oh, we should
The
transition?
Oscars that won Best Animated.
So this was the first non-Disney Pixar movie to win Best Animated since, I want to say like 2011.
Yeah, Best Animated that year, Spider-Verse won. It was competing against Incredibles 2 for Pixar. It was also competing against Ralph Breaks the Internet, which was a Disney movie. So it had a Disney and a Pixar. It had Isle of Dogs that year. And Mireille or something.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it is.
So yeah, the years, I think I was off by one or whatever. It was the first non-Disney Pixar film to win since Rango in 2011. The first non-Disney Pixar film to win since Happy Feet in 2006, which was with another Disney Pixar in contention. So when Rango won, there wasn't a Disney Pixar.
Yeah, so it's the first one to beat Disney and Pixar since 2006.
Yep.
I would say that's no contest either. Like it was
One.
What is
way
it?
better.
Can't believe Rango won.
Well, there was no Disney Pixar that
Do
year.
you guys not seen Rango?
No, I haven't.
You should check out Rango. Rango's really good.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
no, I
I
haven't
have
seen
not
it.
seen it either.
I mean, it won an Oscar.
Yeah, you might not know this, but it won the Oscar.
Well, I to be fair, Suicide Squad won an Oscar as well, and I would not say that's a
Yeah,
good
that
movie.
wasn't for like best
No,
anything picture in any
I'm aware
category.
it-
though.
Was it
But
best
I-
music or something like that?
It was
Makeup.
costume,
Oh, okay.
Can't have been best
which
music.
it beat something, which was blew
Better,
my mind.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I do think this movie was no contest. I remember filling out my Oscar ballot this year and been like, 3 point Spider-Verse easy. But the fact that I felt that way is pretty impressive considering it was up against Disney and Pixar. And the Pixar movie was Incredibles 2, which was like a huge deal when that thing was coming out. Because how long had it been? Like 10 years or something crazy?
Mhm.
I feel like our generation in particular was like waiting for that sequel because they had set it up for one.
Wasn't the other one a sequel too? Ralph Breaks the Internet?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, which also was like a phenomenal movie that people absolutely loved.
I just feel like in general, like sequels have a hard time winning, and I have nothing to base that off of. That is strictly my uneducated opinion.
Yeah. There's also a poster for Kitten Heels, which is a reference to Kinky Boots, the Broadway musical. That's all my notes.
Cool. Everything in between the last time you gave us a Times Square ad to this one just cut. That way it'll feel all conjoined.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Before we get too off topic, I assume we're going to be wrapping up.
Yeah.
I do want to mention one last thing. This movie is wicked good.
Yep.
And I really do feel like it made a big difference in animation. I think this really opened the door for other people to like start trying some crazy stuff. I feel like there's been some other animated movies that have kind of taken a different direction with their animation rather than like, let's see how nice we can make like a computer animated movie. I know like right after this, it was Lord Miller was
Mitchell versus Machines, yeah.
And there's a lot of vibes from.
So I'm still sad that lost last year.
I know.
I was gonna say, as soon as you brought that up, I got that impression. Like, oh yeah, I could see
Yep.
how these are similar.
Yeah. And then, even like Pixar did Luca after, which they scaled
Yeah.
it all back. They were like, okay, no,
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
want it to look super real. Let's go the other direction. And I feel like this and it winning really did help like open some options for animation other than just like make it look as real as you can.
Write that down. Write that down.
I feel like as things get more and more real looking, it gets more unsettling, and
Yeah.
just not as like quality is like good.
Yeah, I think a sense of style is more appreciated than something close to photorealism for sure. As long as it's not Illumination's house style, I hate those French bastards. Take that minion out of my face. Oh, does it have a fat body and tiny stubby legs? Must be French or something. I don't know.
Kingpin.
Just doing warmed over Three Stooges bits from.
How long are they gonna like keep
How long can
really
this
doing
last?
that?
They literally saved the movies, so give them a break.
Until the boomers die, I guess.
It's the only thing young people want to see is 3 Spider-Mans or those little yellow bastards.
All right, put the little yellow bastards in the 3 Spider-Mans.
I
The
guess we've
first
been.
Despicable Me was really good.
Yeah, okay.
I really enjoyed it.
was.
You're group hilled.
They did a really good job with it. It was very fun.
Yeah, no, it is pretty good. It's like, oh, wow, Steve Carell's going to get paid forever now. He doesn't really have to act that much anymore.
Oh, I was talking about the 3 Spider-Mans.
Oh. we were on Gru and his whole family.
I've seen the first 2. I don't think I've seen the third one.
I'm pretty sure there's like
there's
5.
6 now.
There's too many. That's what there is.
I think there's only 2 Despicable Me movies, but then like the Minion verse has like 7 movies.
Oh, I didn't. Is Steve Carell in those as well? I thought
The
they
most
just were
recent
doing...
one, Rise of Gru,
Okay, yeah,
was
yeah.
also about Gru.
That makes sense.
But if he was young, maybe it's not. I don't know if it's still Carell or not.
I refuse to watch
Anyway.
the Minion movies just point blank because I'm not going to do it. But
They're not that bad. They genuinely are just doing like Three Stooges shtick, and it's still funny.
Yeah.
It's like a Mr. Bean movie. They're not really speaking English, but they're just doing shtick.
dislike both of those.
Okay.
We don't need that.
Sorry.
Wait, why do you guys hate Mr. Bean?
Oh, I've never liked Mr. Bean, and I really have not been a huge fan of Three Stooges. Like, I thought it was stupid. I don't know.
Just not like the humor you enjoy.
It reminds me of like a humor that like a cliched 90s high school bully would enjoy. Like, oh, they got hit in the head. It's like, it does nothing for me.
Mr. Bean is sophisticated.
I'm gonna hit Robbie in the head and we can all laugh.
See, that's physical comedy in person. I appreciate it.
Humor does translate better in person. This is true. Okay, I'm not here to defend the Minions or Mr. Bean. What I wanted to steer us to is the other Spider-Man multiverse-based movie that's been a big deal that's come out in recent years that we haven't mentioned yet.
No Way Home was fine, but this movie is way better than No Way Home.
I'm not saying it's not better. I definitely enjoy this movie a lot more, but I would say that it's not like bad.
Yeah, it definitely did the multiverse thing a lot better in this one, but like No Way Home wasn't. I mean, it was okay.
I wasn't
right?
being fully serious. I was just trying to.
It definitely did it better in this one.
I'd have difficulty ranking them. I've only seen each of them once, so I'd really have to like watch them more.
That's fair.
This is now the first of 3 Marvel multiverse movies, and I think this one does the best job of like having a multiverse.
I don't actually like dislike No Way Home.
I was glad they brought Sandman back. I felt like he was an underutilized villain from the Tobey Maguire ones.
I'm ready to rate this thing.
Me too. So every week we'll all give these movies a rating on a scale of 0.5 to 5 on any scale of your choosing besides stars. And I'll put those on our Letterboxd page. That's Late to the Movies on letterboxd.com. And that's
so
the number 2.
Zeros off the table. We have to start
Zeros
at
off the
0.5.
table. You can't give it a 0.
I'd fight you over that.
I wouldn't do that.
Who's ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm giving it 5 out of 5 totally normal spiders.
Normal spider.
It's boring how normal this spider is.
5 out of 5 stolen bagels.
What does he call the? It's not jiggers.
A goober.
Goobers. Yes. All right. 5 out of 5 goobers.
Yeah. It's a goober.
I was gonna say gizmos, but it's not a goober. It's a gizmo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess 5 out of 5 spider people. Also,
Yeah.
I guess 1 pig.
Yep. And a pig, which counts for nothing.
Yeah, bonus pig.
Bonus pig.
Bonus pig. 5 out of 5 half remembered song lyrics.
It's me every time music comes on the radio.
Honestly, that's what makes his character so real, is him not singing the song correctly in the
Yes.
beginning of the movie. Right
Good
away,
intro.
you can just relate to him.
The intro too. They had a word specifically for how he was singing, and I forgot what it was. Like the subtitle, and it was very interesting. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was like the word for this.
I didn't watch it on subtitle.
Like when you're like kind of half singing along, there was like a
Yeah.
they described what it
Yeah,
was.
where you like
can probably
just
pull it up
hum
on
when you
Apple.
realize you don't know the lyrics, or
Just
you put,
mumbling it.
Yeah, you mumble a little bit.
yeah.
Flubbing lyrics is what it says on Apple. Flubbing lyrics.
5 out of 5 flubbing lyrics.
All right. So our ending bit. All right, people. One more time. Let's do this one more time.
So good.
Yeah, you can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, Podbeans, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Podcasts, whatever podcatcher you prefer. It's probably there. And if not, send Noah an email at latetothemovies@gmail.com. Check out our Instagram page. We never had a Twitter. We were ahead of the curve. It's latetothemovies_pod on Instagram. Both the email and the Instagram and the letterbox are the number 2. Don't type it out. I don't know what you'll get. It might be terrifying. Don't look at it.
It's also not the number 2, like the full words, the number 2. It's just numeric letter 2.
Smart. Yeah. Make sure they know. And that's pretty much it. You can go buy. I discovered in one of the previous episodes that I could have this whole time been saying not just a t-shirt with Greg's face on it, but a mug with Greg's face on it. You can also buy a mug with Greg's mug on tpublic.com.
I have a pretty awesome magnet with my face on it that I'm very happy with.
There's magnets. There's I think you can get it printed on a pillow.
I got to get that pillow now.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm thinking like full body.
Yeah, I've gotten actually, even though the posters on Instagram are still purposely bad, I have actually gotten better at Photoshop since I made the logo, since I made the Greg design. But I kind of like how janky it is. I think I'm just going to leave it up for.
You should put those posters on like one of those poster printing sites and like put a link for people to buy them if they want.
Yeah, you should. That's smart. That's pretty much it, right? I don't think there's anything else. So that's all, folks.
Can he legally say that?
I don't know if he can say that.
All right. I appreciate everyone jumping in on that. Thanks for being on the podcast. Ray, Greg, Will, Roberto.
Roberto.
Bob.
See ya.